Okay, so futures were an obligation to buy. That is, if you entered into a future contract, at the expiry of the contract, you had to buy the particular asset. But now there are other kind of instruments which are called options. The options give you an option to buy. That is, if you want to buy if you want to buy the asset, then you buy the assets at a particular time period. A call option is the right to buy. Okay, it gives you the right to buy, but no obligation to buy an asset for an agreed amount. You will agree beforehand that you will be buying this particular contract at that amount at a specified time in the future. Okay, example is I cooked up an example. Okay, this thing might not really be like a call option, but I'm just cooking up an example is a call option on the Reliance stock to buy the stock at 2000 rupees in a 1 month time frame. Okay, stock price today, assume it is 1980 rupees. Okay, so as far as this particular option goes, okay, 2000 rupees, okay, is the exercise price or the strike price. Okay, these are definitions. The price at which you're going to be buying this particular asset in the future is called the exercise price, or mostly the word that is used is the strike price. Date at which you're exercising the option is called the expiration date, or in general it is called the expiry. The Reliance stock in a particular example is called the underlying asset on which this stock option contract is realized. Okay, now the thing is, since we exercise the option, if the stock price at an expiration day is greater than the exercise price, I mean, that is the only time you would basically be exercising the option. In case the stock price is lower than the exercise price, then you would not be exercising the option. Okay, because in that particular case your profit would have been negative. Okay, so that's why you say that the payoff function that is there for this particular option is basically equal to the maximum of S minus E and 0. Okay, that is, if the stock price is greater than the strike price at the expiry, then you will basically exercise the option. This is the payoff function at expiry. Okay, as far as this option goes, okay, there is no downside to owning an option. The only thing that is there is you will be paying a particular amount of money in the beginning to enter inside this option, which is called option value, which we'll talk downstairs. However, there is no downside. You will only lose that particular money in case the option expires and you don't make a profit. Okay, unlike futures. Okay, in the question of futures, okay, even if the stock value, okay, is lower, okay, then the price that you had agreed to buy that particular stock, you still have to buy it. So that's why you would be making a loss. Okay, so there is a downside towards owning futures, whereas the downside towards option is only the initial premium that you're going to be paying, which I'll be talking about below. Okay, to profit from option ownership, H should increase to the maximum. Okay, this is a call option. Okay, so now what we had defined was the call option, that is, it gives you a right to buy a particular stock. So in order for you to profit, S that is there should increase as much as it should basically increase. Okay, now the thing is, in case you feel that the stock price for a particular quantity, a particular asset is going to decrease in value, okay, what you would do is you would get into a put option contract. This put option is, it gives you the holder the right to sell an asset at a fixed price at a specified time in the future. Okay, because it gives you the right to sell the particular asset, the cost at a particular price E. Okay, the payoff function at expiry is going to be the maximum of the strike minus the price of the stock at that particular time. Okay, at expiry, or it is going to be equal to 0. In case the stock price is greater than the expiry, then you will obviously not exercise this particular stock price is greater than the strike. Okay, then obviously you're not going to exercise this particular contract, because you will be selling this particular contract at a value which is smaller than the value of the actual you'll be selling this particular stock at a value which is lower than the particular stock price, and you will be going into a loss. Okay, Okay. Now the thing is, what you're having is with these options, whether it be put or call, you will be having a right to buy or sell. There is no obligation, you only have the right. Okay, that is, you have an option whether you want to buy or sell. Okay, and it comes with a price. Okay, which is the initial price that you will, which is the initial price you will pay to own this particular right. Okay, because you're not having any obligation to buy this particular contract, to basically buy or sell the asset at expiry. Okay, but you're only having the right to buy and sell the contract. You have to come up, you have to like give up, you'll have to like pay a particular amount of money to possess this particular right. In case you didn't possess, in case you didn't even have to pay money to possess this particular right, then you'll be making a risk-free profit, right? Because in case the stock price is above the strike for a call, you'll be making a profit at expiry, and in the beginning you didn't even, when you went into the contract, you didn't pay any money, so you're just going to be making free money. So there is, it's because we are talking, because of the no arbitrage argument, this thing is not going to be an acceptable way to like get into a contract. So that is why you will have to pay a certain amount of money in the beginning itself to enter inside this contract. Okay, inside an option contract. Okay, the actual amount of money that you should be paying in the beginning when you enter inside the contract is what this course is really about. Okay, now let us consider, one second, let us consider what would be the payoff, what would be the price, sorry, what would, let us consider, one second, what is the value of the call option. Okay, let us consider the value of the call option. Okay, let us assume, as far as trying to understand what this line is about, okay, let us assume that the stock price that is there doesn't change from today till the date when the contract is getting expired. Okay, let us assume that the particular stock price is constant. Okay, and then also let us assume that there is no the interest rates that are there are zero. Okay, in that particular case, the value of the call option that is there, that you're going to be value of the call option today that is there, should equal the payoff function, so that there are no arbitrage possibilities. Okay, because the initial money that you're putting in to buy that particular option should be equal to the amount of profit that you will make when the option is getting exercised. In that particular case, the payoff function, since it is going to be equal to S today minus the expiry minus the strike price, if you're going to plot the value of the call option with respect to the strike price, what you will get is a line like this. Okay, I'm just making a plot of this function with respect to E. Okay, these values that are there are the actual values of the option. Okay, expiry, let us say if this thing was in 1 month, red is when the expiry is in 1 month, green that is there is when the expiry is in 2 months. Okay, the fact is, because the value of the stock price that is there is definitely going to change. Okay, and because you entered inside a call option, okay, assuming that the stock price is going to be increasing in value, okay, as a function of time, okay, that's why you would be expecting that the value of the call option that is there is going to be above this line. Okay, and when you actually evaluate it, the relationship doesn't seem to be linear as a function of strike, but it is going to be some kind of a curved relationship like this. Okay, this is something that we are going to see in the course. But one thing that you basically note is that the green line that is there is above the red line. That is the cost of the call option that is there, okay, is going to be higher further back in time compared to a shorter period in time. The reason for that is you're expecting that the stock price that is there, the longer time that you take, the larger the stock price is going to become. Okay, that's why the value of the call option that is there should basically be larger. Okay, the longer you basically get in time. Okay, so that is what this graph is basically telling you. Okay, so just as I explained, further away in time, higher is the expectation for the stock price to increase. That's why higher the payoff. That's why when your expiry is 2 months, the option value that is there is much higher compared to if the expiry is in 1 month. Okay, we also, as I had explained to you, okay, now the thing is, when we had gone, when we had looked at the futures, okay, the pricing of the futures, what we saw was that the pricing of the futures was linearly related to the asset value. However, option price has basically a curved relationship. Okay, this is something that we will study. You have already seen over here in this particular graph, okay, that as a function of expiry, the option value that is there is already curved. As a function of the strike price, the option value that is there is already curved. What we will see is that the option value is also curved as a function of the stock price, and this thing is unlike the question of futures, where we had seen that this particular, if we just go back, when we looked at the pricing of the futures, okay, what we had seen is oh God. Okay, what we had seen was the future price that is there is directly proportional to the price of the asset at a particular time. Okay, the reason behind this particular expression was when we constructed our portfolio, at the beginning we constructed a portfolio at zero net value. At the expiry, what we had was that the portfolio should have been at zero net value to avoid any arbitrage possibilities. And then when we had, if you go back to your notes and you try to see, or go back to the lectures, what we see is that we had this particular function. This thing was the final value of the future contract, okay, at expiry, okay. I mean, this is the amount of okay. And then this particular, what we basically had was that this particular term over here, ST, that is there, would have cancelled the short asset, okay. But the thing is, now with an options, what we have is that the value that we are getting, it is not going to be ST minus F here anymore. In case we have an option contract, what we essentially will be having is the maximum value of FT minus F and 0, okay. Because of that, there is not a possibility that this thing is necessarily true, that these two terms will basically cancel off and give you some term like this, saying that this thing is a linear function of this, okay. So when we try to actually do the evaluation about how we are going to evaluate the evaluation of the option contract value at a particular time, we will see that this relationship that is there, if we are assuming the relationship that is there between the option value and the asset value, that is not going to be linear. Now we go downstairs, okay. This thing is what is happening, this whole issue that is there is happening because you're starting with because in the question of the futures contract you had an obligation. In the question of an options contract there was no obligation, okay. Let us go through some more definitions, okay, because we will be using these definitions again and again when we talk about these contracts, okay. The premium, as I said, I have been using the word premium. Premium is the amount paid to buy the particular option. So once you're getting inside an option contract, you will have to pay a particular amount of money. That money is called a premium, okay. Now there is something called the intrinsic value. This thing is the payoff received if the underlying is at the present value of expiry, okay. So this thing is kind of like what we have with this definition here, okay. This particular term that is there is called it is going to be the intrinsic value of the option, okay. Intrinsic value of the option is equal to intrinsic value of the option is equal to the value assuming that the stock price that is there at expiry is equal to the stock price today. So this thing is the intrinsic value of the option, okay. So that is one another definition. Next, what we have is a definition which is called the time value of the option, okay. The time value of the option is the payoff above the intrinsic value, okay. So then we again go back to our diagram. I told you guys that this particular this particular term that is there defined by this particular line is basically the payoff, is the intrinsic value of the option. This thing is the actual value of the option, of an option which is expiring in 1 month. So the difference between this and this value at a particular strike price, or at a particular strike price, is basically called the time value of the option. As you can see, longer that you get into time, larger the time value of the option becomes. So if you had gone larger and larger values in time, you will basically have that the time value basically increases in magnitude. Next, what we have is another definition: in the money and out of the money. Okay, so in case an option is called it is in the money, then it is having a positive intrinsic value. If it is out of the money option, it is having a zero intrinsic value. Okay, so these are another technical terms that are going to be talked about, that we'll be using. Okay, if an option is in the money, it has a positive intrinsic value. If it's out of the money, then it basically has a zero intrinsic value. Okay, option which is at an option that is there which is at the money has a strike price which is equal to the current underlying value. Okay, so if the strike price that is there is equal to the value of the asset at the present time, okay, then that particular option is called at the money. Another definition that is going to be used again and again is a long position. If you are in a long position in a particular contract, okay, that means, say you're a long position in a particular asset, in a particular stock, that is basically implying that you have a positive amount of that particular stock with you. Okay, if you are in a short position at the same time, what it will imply is that you have a negative amount of a stock with you. This thing is akin to short selling, that is, you're selling something that you don't own. Okay, as we have been talking before, if you're selling something that you don't own, in some sense it is it could be understood as that you're borrowing it from somebody, possibly your future self if you want. Okay, or you're borrowing it from somebody which you have to return in the future. Okay, because you have to return this particular quantity in the future. In case you put it inside your portfolio, it will be counted as something which is of a negative value, because that much amount of stuff that is there you have to like return in the future. That thing will have to be removed from your portfolio. That's why it is of a negative amount. So that's why it is called a short position. Okay, when I just said you're borrowing from yourself in the future, I think so we can just cancel that particular statement, because it that thing is not it might not be in the proper context right now. So just ignore that particular line that I have said. Just remember that a short position is a position which is corresponding to you being having a negative amount of a particular quantity. This thing can be happening because you're short selling a particular quantity. That is, you have borrowed this particular quantity from somebody and then you have sold it. So that means because you have borrowed it, that means you will have to return this particular quantity in the future. So the thing is, you will that means if that is a part of your portfolio, something that you don't even own that you're selling, then in the future you will have to remove that out from your portfolio. And because you'll have to remove that out from your portfolio, it is a negative amount of a quantity inside your portfolio. Now the payoff diagrams. In the previous case, what we had done was we had seen how the payoff would be as a function of the strike price. Okay, let us see how the option value that is there is a function of the stock price. The intrinsic value, as I said, is the maximum of the intrinsic value is basically assuming that the is the payoff function, assuming that the stock price today is going to be the stock price at expiry. So that's why you're going to be having that the intrinsic value is going to be a straight line, just at okay. However, remember that we are expecting, if you're getting into a call contract, we are expecting that the price of the particular asset is going to be increasing in time. That is why the actual option value that is there will always be above this particular intrinsic value. Okay. However, if you are looking at a put contract, what we have is the following. Okay, this thing is a line. This thing is how this is going to look like. Okay, but the value, because we are expecting the value of the stock to decrease in value when we are getting into a put contract, That's why the actual value of the option is always going to be lower than its intrinsic value. Okay, that is why we are having this kind of a line. Okay, so now another thing over here to note is that if you are buying an option, okay, if you are buying an option, then someone is also selling it at the same time. Okay, and the guy who's selling the option, he's called the writer. Okay, so the writer, what he will do is he'll deliver an asset. That is what happens when you're there's a call option, because you have to buy, because you're the one who's going to be buying the option, or he'll buy the asset. That is what happens when there's a put option, because you're the one who is trying to sell an option. Okay, sell an asset, sorry. Okay, so the thing is, as far as the buyer goes, that is you. Okay, if you're buying the option, okay, I mean, when I'm saying that is you, that doesn't mean that you have to just be the buyer. You could also be the writer, but just as a figure of speech. Okay, so the thing is, if there's a buyer of an option, what he does is he'll pay the premium, okay, in order to enter into the contract, and that will give him certain rights. Okay, however, writer of an option, what he does, he gets a premium. So in order for him to get the premium, he have to satisfy certain obligations. Okay, now as far as the buyer of the option goes, when you buy an option, you will have to have some downside. The only downside that is there is the premium that you're paying. Okay, there is no other downside that is there. Upside is unlimited. Like say if you're in a call option and the stock goes like to infinite price, you make infinite profit. Okay, however, as far as the writer of an option goes, his downside that is there is unlimited, because say he's the writer of this call option, and the price goes to infinity, then he'll be making infinite profit, infinite loss, because he'll be selling that particular asset at a fixed at a small strike value. Okay, even though its price has gone to infinite. Okay, his upside that is there is the premium. Okay, so because of that, his position that is there is very risky. Okay, so the thing is, because the position is very risky for the writer of the option, in order to prevent him from defaulting and like not making the or not making the his side of the bargain. Okay, the thing is, the writer basically will deposits in something called margins at the exchange. Options that are there are like exchange, are options just like futures. They are traded at these exchanges. So at this particular exchange, the writer will have to like deposit certain kind of a margin. Now the payoff function that we know is basically the value that was there at expiry. That is how we have defined payoff function. But how does that, what is the value of this option before expiry? That is, when you're setting the value of the option, how are you going to set it off? All you know that is that the payoff function is the value at the expiry, but what is the value of the option anytime before the expiry? Okay. Let's try to like understand this a little bit, Say we have the same strike price, okay? Then in case of the asset value that was there, it was having a higher value today, then it expired then it will definitely have a higher value. Then there's the expectation that at expiry you will basically be having a higher value. Okay, so that is if it was basically a call option. Okay, and then afterwards you would be expecting that it will have a lower value if it was basically a put option. Okay, so this thing that I have written was basically for a call option. If it is having a higher value asset value today, you would be expecting that it will be having a higher asset value at expiry. Okay, so this thing is something that you'll be expecting for a call option. Okay, and in case if you are like and you'd be expecting that in case you had the same strike price, and if the value that was there of this particular option was small today, of the asset was something small today, okay, then you'd be expecting that at the expiry the asset will basically have a much more lower value because you had betted on a put option. Okay, this is kind of the expectation. Okay, so next the other thing is, so there is, if it's this thing is one thing, so the as far as the strike price goes, how would we be expecting the value of the option to work before expiry. Okay, so it will kind of be dependent, you can see that it will kind of be dependent upon the asset value today. Okay, because the asset value today basically tells you something about the asset value in the future, and the asset value in the future is going to be telling you what the payoff function is, and that thing would somehow determine what your this is, the value of the option today is. So you'd be expecting that the value option before expiry will definitely depend upon the asset value today. Now the thing is, in case you're basically having a larger time to expiry, okay, the asset value that you have, when you're going towards expiry, right, there could be a possibility that this particular asset could go very up in time, or it could go very down in time. Okay, so we'll have to think a little bit more, about how this thing would basically work around. Then the other thing that we have to realize is that that is as far as the asset values go. Okay, because the asset value could go up or down, but then the thing is, you will definitely be having a less value of the payoff, because you're going to have to factor out the time value of the money. Okay, so in case you're basically expecting a particular payoff, okay, you'll have to also factor out the fact that money that is there, the money itself is, like we have been talking in the first lectures, money itself basically has a time value. Okay, so in case I'm expecting a particular payoff at infinite, at the expiry, right? If I'm expecting a particular payoff at the expiry, then the value of the option that is there, okay, larger the time, then smaller the value of the option. Okay, because in order to make up for this question of time value of the money. Okay, so the value of the option that is there, as we can see, is like, it will depend upon how far you're from the expiry. That is, it could basically depend upon the time that you're there right now. What is the time right now? Because once you have been given the time at the expiry, you'll have to see what is the difference. What is the difference between the time that is there at the expiry and the time that is there today. So it will depend upon the time t today, as well as it will basically be dependent upon the asset price that is there today. Okay, so this is the value of the option today. It will depend on the asset price as well as the time, the time today. Once the time at infinity is basically fixed, that is the time towards the expiry is basically known. Okay, the boundary condition that we have is that the value of the option that is there should equal to the maximum of S of the value of the asset at expiry minus the strike price times 0. So this thing kind of becomes like a boundary condition. What we have is S and T basically become variables in the problem. Okay, 1 second. Okay, it should have been small t basically, not big T, because this is how you are defining this. Let me see if I can write this. Okay, now. Okay, just note that this thing is small t. Okay, this thing should be small t, because what you're having is that the function that is there is dependent on the variables S and T. The other things that we have are like the parameters. The interest rate is basically there, it's going to be a parameter. Okay, what we also have is another important parameter that is there, which is called the volatility, and we'll be talking about that. The volatility is basically telling you how the option, the strike, how the what do you call it? The volatility basically tells you how the the uncertainty in the value of the asset value as a function of time. So the thing is, more the uncertainty, then that more it will basically fluctuate the value of the asset. So this thing is basically captured by this concept which is called the volatility. Okay. Now I'd like to explain to you another concept over here as far as puts and calls go. It is called the put call parity. Okay. In order to understand that, let us say that you buy a call option C, and let us say the value of the call option at the time that you bought it is C. Also you sell a put option. Let us say the value of the put option when you bought it is equal to P. Okay. At expiry, you know that this is what your portfolio is. So at the expiry, your total payoff would be the maximum value of ST minus E, because you had bought the call option, minus maximum of E minus ST comma 0, because you have sold a put option. Okay, because of that, if you're looking at this expression, the value of this expression is just ST minus E. Okay, T is basically the value at the expiry. Now the thing is, how do we basically get this kind of a payoff in another way? How could we get it another way? Okay, we are seeing that there is a value that is there, which is ST over here at time t. In case you want to get this particular value of ST at time t, what you can do is you can long a stock. That is, you basically own a stock. Okay, the value at small time, it is from the stock is going to be S of t. Okay, On top of that, there is a minus E. As I've told you guys, anytime there is a minus, in case you want your portfolio to have a, in case you're having a portfolio with a negative of a particular quantity, you are saying you could be shorting that particular quantity. So you will be shorting that cash. So you basically short a particular amount of cash. You will be shorting a particular amount of cash, E times E raised to minus this at time small t. So that at time big T, it becomes equal to this value. Okay. So this is what you have, that the value of expiry of this particular portfolio that is there is ST minus E. Okay. So you can have two ways in which you could get final value, a final outcome at a final value of your portfolio. Either you could buy a call and then you could sell a put, so that you can get a value ST minus E, or you could basically long a stock and short a cash, ST minus E. Okay. The fact that there is no possibility of an arbitrage would imply that this relationship has to hold. C minus P is equal to ST minus this, because both of these things would lead to the same value of the money, would basically lead to the would amount to the same value at expiry. So this thing has to be true at any other time. Okay.